as a bear in the woods.
Right, come on, you fatty. Come on, fatty.
I don't even know who lives in there or what the hell's going on there.
Could I sleep in there today? Oh, no room.
And we're on the way there. Ignore the fart.
And a bit of that, and a bit of
Singers, James, singers I've got. My pedal broke, man. And thanks to Show That Bros, Mickey's on the most useless street in the world. Come on!
Always keep a shoe in your kitchen department, guys.
Don't worry, it's the COVID talking. It's probably wild boar, a few bears, a lot of women washing their cars saying hi on the side of the road.
Go on, Mick, feel it, Mick, feel it. I might be going mad.
Want to see me underwear?
Last week in Spain saw not only the championship wrapped up, but the top 4 spots and the points have all become locked in. Without as much pressure on the drivers, will this unleash them to have as much fun as they want today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you've been under a rock for the last 2 decades, you may not recognize the new Hockenheim. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about its modern incarnation. Welcome to Hockenheim. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current format. With 6 different layouts ranging between 2.5 and 4.5 kilometers containing 13 to 16 turns, depending on which you choose, it's got something for just about every level of racing. This means it would fit everything from club cars up to Formula One. And that's perhaps what it's most well known for. One of the regular hosts for the German Grand Prix, it has been the scene of multiple dramatic moments, some triumphant, some tragic. Its redesign in the early 2000s gave it a few well-placed overtaking spots. The Parabolica entrance can create a good sneak attack, but even if you don't get it done there, the huge run towards the tight and slow Spitz curve is the place most well known for overtakes. If neither of those work, on rare occasions, Mercedes Corner can see drivers manage to pass one another. While the straights certainly aren't as long as the old version, it still requires a good deal of top speed to be competitive. But driver beware. Throttle control can often make or break your lap on the latter half of the circuit. All in all, German race fans can be assured to find great action no matter your taste in racing at this fantastic venue. Well, Joey, with the championship situation as it is, at least we've got a good place to hold a finale that doesn't see much in the way of overall big picture drama, but it should put on good racing.
It should put on some really good racing with some really good passing opportunities. And you mentioned it, here we are at Hockenheim, 16 turns, just under 3 miles in length. And couple places to note, turn 1, actually, especially on the start, it's kind of an awkward sweeping right-hander with a little bit of a funnel, always tricky to get through there. And then always that hairpin down there, turn 6, the biggest passing opportunity on the racetrack. You got to get it slowed up in these cars and watch out for the first lap when you got the cold front tires, and then the always technical stadium section to end out this lap. Got to stay on top of it without overstepping it over some of these tall curbs.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to cause a little bit of intrigue today, seeing how the curbs work, because some give them an advantage and some don't. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as we take a look at the championship situation. Because of the drop weeks, yes, there are drivers that are within 80 points of one another, but they are able to earn points even without finishing well today. So they'll be out of reach regardless. Andy T, Juan Costa, Gernot Freesia, and Timothy Reed all are locked in to those top 4, and you're not going to see those change from there. There on down, you do get some drivers that could swap around. We'll see if any of them are able to get a good finish today, especially since we're missing a few. It's a big racing day in the real world, and so we're expecting a few drivers to be not here to go and watch their favorite real world series, especially if they've already wrapped up their points position. But we also have an F2 championship recently in this series. How's that one sit, Joey?
Right now, Jack David Spickett has really taken control out front. You see 16 points ahead of Jason Clapper, but check that out. Jason Clapper and Olivier Verhagen there, very close, only about 10 points or so separating that battle for second place. So we'll have to keep an eye on both of those. And then Keith Herner, Miguel Moreland rounding out the top 5 there. Also, Kirk Clapper in that battle for that 4th place position. So just kind of have to see how today winds out. It is the final round for them to grab these points, so might see a few move around just a little bit.
Yeah, so 3 of the top 4 are here, Kerner, Spickett, and Clapper. It is, as we said, the last round of the season, 21 laps that they'll be racing around here. It's open setup, and as we've said frequently, it's more about trying to get the top speed while surviving the rest of the lap. But we'll see who's able to do that. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25 is a little bit of a concern, considering this is a modern Grand Prix track and there's a lot of areas with paved runoff. So you don't want to abuse those too often. But with these being open wheelers, you're not going to be banging doors all that much because, well, there are no doors on these cars. It's just the wheels sticking out on either side. Pauli Partanen, the first one to put a lap down, but he's quickly displaced as Cortinini goes to the top spot. And we wait for the rest of them to come around. Gernot Freesia still looking for his first win in a long time, but he's been getting podiums this season and has been faring decently well. Seems to really be back into his groove lately. Let's see what his lap time is. Well, that one didn't count. Looks like he is now starting his first flyer.
One of the biggest names in these cars, Gernot Freesia, so we'll have to see what kind of speed he has at the end of this season. And Joe, I know these cars don't have doors, and so you can't technically door bang, but that sounds like a challenge to me.
It would to you, of course. Also, I want to give a shout out to Michael de Turk, who is back in the car once again. He had to take a little bit of time off and has returned today to try and see what he can do. He's usually a very fast runner, and like I said, we're missing a few big names out there, so he could have a good shot as we watch Freesia out of the Spitzkette and now back into the Mercedes arena, where we might see some passes into here, especially if there's an attempt down into the hairpin, Joey, and it isn't quite completed.
You're absolutely right. Sometimes it's just about putting your competitor off their line a little bit to get into the next section. And you're right, going into that small stadium place, if you get somebody off their line coming out of the hairpin, definitely another passing opportunity. But look at how narrow the track gets through these last handful of corners. Not much room here to go side by side, even though we might see some people really test the limits.
Yeah, down in the stadium, it gets narrow. It's the older part of the track here as Gernot crosses the line. His time's going to be at 25.5. That's good enough for fourth on his first lap. They get 2 laps in qualifying to set their best time. Courtney still on the pole at a 24.9. Hartonen and he are both done with their qualifying. So is Timothy Reed. So all 3 of the drivers in front of Freesia have finished as we ride on board with Michael de Turk now, who is on his first flying lap as he comes along the Parabolica down towards the Spitzkara, looking for his braking zone. And we could see him ride the curb there. Now, we were told that that is actually something intentional the drivers might be doing, Joey.
Yeah, so what happens is these cars make the majority of their downforce from the floor, the tunnel section. So what they're doing is they're raising the car up by driving on top of that curb, and that actually limits the airflow, reduces the downforce, and increases the top speed.
Little savvy tricks that some of the quickest drivers have learned throughout the years with this car. And what's incredible to me, Joey, is the fact that iRacing has modeled it that accurately, that sort of thing actually has the positive effect that science says it should.
Well, and I think that's one of the cool things that the sim has kind of brought to us is we have the data collection and the real world tech to monitor that. You know, you go back in history and we don't necessarily have the advancements in that telemetry to know that we're really getting those miles an hour, other than the driver just saying, hey, I've got more RPM.
Michael de Turk, his first lap, good enough for a 25.3. That's going to put him in a 6. Freesia's second lap, 25.2. He jumps up into third on that one. We're only missing Dylan Freckleton and Kurt Clapper still out there to set times, but Jack David Spickett, Jason Clapper, Bjorn Ackerman, and Andrew Eng have not come out onto the track, so they're out of time to set a time, and they will start from the back of the grid. We're going to watch with Freckleton here out of the last few corners to see if he can put one down. He's not going to have a second lap, unfortunately, just this one.
Well, and I was noticing that out of Michael de Turk as well, a little bit late going and qualifying, so wonder if Michael will get his second lap. And here's Dylan, only going to get 1 lap in, won't even get that second.
Doesn't take that long to get around here at 125 for the fastest drivers. In fact, only one is at 124, and that's Courtney. But let's see how this pink and black number 11 goes on his one flying lap. It's a 26.4. And that is going to put him into 13th out of what is, I believe, 25 cars here for this race. We don't have a split in this one as de Turk is going to make it through, it looks like, Joey. So this is going to be a wider swath of abilities.
Yes, a little bit of a difference in that skill level between all the drivers. But one thing's for sure, got a long enough racetrack and wide enough to have everybody play nicely.
Absolutely, and track qualifying is over, so gridding starts as Topi Kortaniemi takes the pole. Pauli Partanen is in second, and Gernot Freesia starts P3. Jukka Tolinen puts himself into fourth, and Michael de Turk will start from fifth position. Juanmi Costa, who is vying for that championship and wound up second, is going to start from sixth today. Kind of low for him. Timothy Reed will be P7, and Timothy Vaughn will be P8. Then in row 5, you've got Nathan Finnegan and Kimmo Viekainen.
Here in 11th spot, we have Andreas Schuster, Tim Britton in 12th, Dylan Freckleton, who we were just riding on board with there in 13th, Tomas Bartfei 14th, Keith Herner inside the top 15, Daniel Banker, Miguel Moreland here in 17th, Barry West 18th, Francisco Javier Lopez in 19th, and Kurt Clapper in 20th position.
David Martinez was the last to set a time in 21st. Then it's Jack David Spickett, Jason Clapper, Bjorn Ackerman, and Andrew Eng, your last drivers who will be lining up on the grid according to iRating. But it looks like we got a bunch of them out there already. It's pretty cool here out in 9:30 in the morning at Hockenheim. 68 Fahrenheit, only 20 Celsius for the metric folks, but with a lot of wind at 14 miles an hour to kind of push them around. With the car that depends on some aero to try and find some speed, that could be tricky out there today. as we got about 30 seconds left. We're still looking for the last of them to grid up. Again, last race of the season, and there's nothing to fight for most of the drivers. We understand that Kortenemi's Pike from Beach is actually the team that he races for. So big thanks to Topi for helping fill us in as they are ready to go, and the lights are now up. And the green flag is out, coming off the line. Kortenemi is looking very good, and so is Michael de Turk, absolutely blasting past the two in front of him. No, he's going to get squeezed, and that's going to send one of them up and over. That's Gernot Freesia. His last race of the season is over before it began.
So tough. That was 3 wide into turn 1, and there just isn't that space. I mentioned it's a funnel area, and further back, we're still 3 wide, heading out onto the straightaway for the first time.
Freesia is done. He landed on his wheels, but the car is too damaged to continue. I don't know if the other two managed to get away without damage, but Kortenemi's running away from both of them. Partanen chasing him as we battle for third down into the Spitzkara. Juan Costa versus Jukka Tolinen, and they all try and fan out to try to find some space. Looks like I'm not seeing any major incidents through there as we usually do on the first lap. So other than that chaos that we had through the first turn, looks like we're doing fairly well.
I tell you what, Dylan Freckleton sent it ultra deep in that hairpin. I think he picked up 3 spots in that corner alone.
Now they start to get single file. Somebody in the background, Keith Herner. Oh no, that's one of our drivers vying for a championship in F2. He does a full 360 and gets it back pointed forward, but he falls down to 23rd. This could be a big day for a number of them with it being such a smaller field. We're going to ride on board with the Turk. Again, he took a big clout, so I don't know how the car is handling from here.
Well, and I'm checking it out right now, going through some various cameras. I don't see any damage, any visual damage on Michael de Turk's car, and it looks like the steering wheel is pointed straight. He might have gotten away with one.
Boy, did he. And we'll have to go back and look at that in a little bit, because I don't even know who the other person was involved in that 3 wide other than Freesia, as it looks like we've got that. Let's see. Yeah, just a fantastic start. I don't blame him for sticking it in 3 wide, but just unfortunately 3 into 1 does not go.
No, that was a really tough lesson. And Joe, I mentioned it in the pre-race. Turn 1 is just kind of this awkward sweeper, and it really narrows down. And unfortunately, Gernot Freesia was stuck all the way on the outside. He didn't really have anywhere to go if he was trying to keep it on the racetrack.
That was Tolnen who was on the very inside there. We're going to watch it one more time. This is his onboard. He can see, yeah, okay, so now he can see he's got another car coming in, but he's got the inside. Why give it away? And it was definite net code. He was miles away from him. That's just the unfortunate nature of sim racing sometimes. Sad to see that cause that unceremonious end for Freesia.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate. And just kind of some of the deals that we play with out here in the virtual world. Everybody's on the same playground, though, and has to deal with the same thing.
Absolutely, as we now hop on board with Andreas Schuster. Still got some great action here in the mid-pack, although he's slow off of the south curve. And Britain is able to run away a little bit in front of him. He's got Tomas Barkfy behind him, along with the likes of Daniel Banker. And a little clump of cars here trying to vie for just outside of the top 10.
Well, and it's interesting to watch them all kind of in this big train going down the back straightaway. See who's got the lower wing settings. Is going to take a look at this. This is the Keith Herner incident that we just had a few laps ago.
Yeah, so he spun off. I don't know if there was any contact. There's a few cars close to him. Nope, I don't think he got touched there, it didn't look like. But nice catch. Gets it back pointed forward and then carries on.
And fortunately had a lot of runoff there at that section of the racetrack. It's kind of where some additions came out to where the original racetrack was, and thankfully didn't hit any walls.
Yep, I'm sure he's great for it in that moment, as we now watch on board with Tolnen, who still sits in 4th. De Turk, as I mentioned, did fall back a little bit, but like you said, it seems like there isn't any real damage there. Tolnen is still sitting exactly where he started this race and is chasing on Juan Costa. It's been a bit of a stalemate up at the front. We're watching from De Turk now as we swing back around to the front stretch. That's Timothy Reed in front of us.
Now, Michael DeTurk's in a little bit of an odd position because he's trying to draft Timothy Reed, but Timothy Reed has the benefit of the slipstream from Jukka Tolinen in front of him, who has the benefit from Juanmi Costa in front of him. So Michael DeTurk is having some mega top speed, but he's not really making any inroads on the straightaway.
Yeah, so not sure if he was aiming for that, if he was hoping that he could try and make some easy passes on the straight, but it's certainly not happening for now as the number 4 of Tolinen swings it down through the Spitz. Kara can't seem to make ground for the time being on Costa. And if this doesn't seem all that thrilling at this stage with them all riding a little bit apart from one another, just wait a bit, because we've seen some drivers tend to come alive a little bit later in the race.
Well, and I think that also comes down to how the drivers treat the cars and their own setup that they put on the race cars. And I know that it's an open setup and there's some community supplied stuff and shared tips and tricks, but it's still up to you to best suit the car and how you drive it. Sometimes it's fast at the beginning, sometimes it's fast at the end.
By the way, the fight between Clapper and Spickett, I think is still in the hands of Spickett right now, but I'll have to double check the points. But Jason is up 8 positions, despite not qualifying as he usually does. He is doing a great job. This is on board with Spickett, who's down in 18th. He's gained 4 himself. You saw on the screen that the fastest lap just went to Topi Cortimi. That is worth 2 bonus points, but that's a bit of a moot point when it comes to Topi, as he's not really in sort of any championship hunt here.
Well, and you know, something I've noticed here, and I wonder if Jack and Jason organized this beforehand, because they both started at the rear. Now, I know that's a Jason Clapper thing to do, start at the back, but usually Jack David Spickett qualifies. Now, I know these two are battling it out and are pretty neck and neck in the championship. I wonder if they had a little gentleman's agreement before this race.
That could be, yeah, I'm not sure. Right now, though, it's working a little bit better for Jason. And in fact, he's already climbing all over the rear wing of Daniel Banker for 14th spot as well. You could see how close he got down into the braking for Spitzkara. This is sometimes a passing spot in the Mercedes arena. And though he takes a look, he's not nearly close enough this time. So have to stay patient, but clearly Jason's got the pace today.
Yeah, and he's very familiar with working his way up through the field, so it kind of plays into his favor as he gets a little loose coming out over the curb and riding along board here now with Nathan Finnegan coming out of the stadium section through the final turn here, following in Timothy Vaughn's tire tracks.
So Nathan up a single spot, same thing with Timothy. They're riding in 7th and 8th. Currently, cars getting faster as more purple laps being set up at the front of the field. They tend to do that as the fuel burns off. Let's see if either of them are going to use that little curb trick down the Parabolica as they now accelerate out of the Parabolica entry and then go down this long, what is essentially a bit of a curved straight, if you will.
And Joe, just like that, I see both of them with the left side tires up on that curb, using that trick that you were talking about, reduce the downforce and increase the top speed.
Doesn't get Nathan any closer, at least for now, as we jump back once again to Britton and Schuster, who we were watching earlier. And Schuster still sizing him up with that sort of classic IndyCar scheme. Just ahead on Britton, once again, just takes a little bit of a glance and unable to do anything for now. I think we may have had a change for position. Yeah, Daniel Banker got overtaken by Jason Clapper for 14th. So that happened down into the Spitzkara.
Another position, more points for Jason Clapper. And now he's got his sights set on Tomas Bartfai, who's about a second and a half up the road.
So 14th place is worth 33 points. And Spickett's down in 18th. That is worth 27. I don't think that's enough. I think that's still good enough for Spickett. So Jack needs to just kind of keep, I'd say, within range maybe. He doesn't need to be directly behind Jason Clapper, but if he can just see him up the road a few cars ahead, then he knows he should still have that championship.
Agreed. And here we are with Michael DeTurk. He's actually in a really good spot right here, tucked up in the draft to Timothy Reed. We'll see if he's close enough. He's as close as he's ever been. He's going to make a really late move deep on the brakes, locks it up. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two, and they're still going.
Wow, that was a big hit too. And Turk gets on the radio with a bit of an apology there. Didn't mean to send it in quite like that. Man, that could have been a lot worse. And they seem to have mostly gotten away with it. Yeah, I don't see any damage on Vaughn's wings. So they got extremely lucky because that could have sent them both out.
And I agree with you, Joe. It was a very aggressive move from Turk. However, he got the car slowed down. He got it turned towards the apex. He didn't just take out Timothy Reed. And sometimes racing happens, and I would call that almost a door bang, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So he's made his case. He's gotten up to fifth. We'll see if Timothy's able to respond or if Michael starts to stretch away. I think, yeah, that lightens the load on some of the battles that we did see, and we unfortunately seem to have Gernot Freesia waiting in the wings now that he's gotten out of the car and has walked on up to the booth. Unfortunately, that big lonely walk up the stairs to come chat with us prematurely. Gernot, man, sad to see you end the season before you even are able to exit the first turn. From what we could tell, it seemed like just 3 and 1 didn't go. What's your take on that situation?
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, I have time to do interviews right now during the race. Usually don't like to do that. Yeah, it was a tough situation. I didn't have the best start, and it looks like Michael came really strong from behind. And the bad thing was that I knew there was a car inside and tried to give room, but I didn't realize it was 3 wide at that moment. So the spotter didn't say anything. Usually you get notified. So it was tough, and I had no chance basically.
Sometimes these things happen, and I guess that's the nature of the beast. But this has been, I'd say, one of the strongest seasons we've seen out of you in quite some time. Would you agree?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been my best season for quite some time now. Actually, I had good pace, not top-end pace, but good enough to fight for some podiums. And also was really consistent with the exception of the last race, so that was the worst one of the season for me.
Sad to see that it had to end on the worst there. Next season, though, obviously the community's probably already talked about the schedule. Is there any particular track you're really looking forward to?
I didn't really follow the forums about the schedule. I'm happy with whatever comes up.
Well, again, commiserations. Sorry that we had to talk to you in this situation, but can't wait to see you next time out.
Yeah, thanks. Not too bad. So it's been a good season. It's been fun. Hope to be back next season. It will be a little bit on and off for me, so I'll have a couple of drop weeks for sure. But yeah, I'll be back. See you guys. Thanks for everything.
Looking forward to it. Gernot Freesia, unfortunately, our first and only so far DNF in this race. Sounds like Jason Clapper having some more action now with Tomas Bartfai.
Yeah, these two have been going at it for the last lap and a half here. Tomas Bartfai hangs on. These two are painted pretty similar, but that's Tomas Bartfai in front in the 14 and Jason Clapper trying to get around him.
Sizing him up down into the stadium section, but it's hard to pass into the Sachs curve. There's a lot of banking through that sweeper. So he stays behind. Probably going to be looking for it down into the Spitzkura once again, once they reach there. Although we have seen passes into the Parabolica entry from time to time. And ooh, this is actually a really good run down the front stretch for Clapper. If he can do that again out of turn 1, let's see.
Tomas Bartfai has been really good putting his car in the right spot, but look at this, going down into turn 2. Clapper's going to take a look, but Bartfai really deep on the brakes. That compromises his apex, and now we're going to be side by side. Clapper wisely takes the longer way around. This is going to set him up for the draft a little.
He's going to have to be on his side as they come into the braking. Can't get that slipstream from where he sits. He gives him plenty of space going way shallow down into the hairpin. And it looks like he's going to find the apex. That seems to me like job done. Jason Clapper now up into 13th. Spickett has managed to move into 16th.
Yeah, just Jason Clapper continues to be on a march. We're not even halfway through. Well, I guess we're right about halfway through, already up 10 positions.
This has been the MO of that number 15 car pretty much all race long. And you saw Spicket there on your screen in that 16th. Oh, no, you're right. And then, who was that off that we just saw?
Daniel Banker, I believe, was off as well.
It's all suddenly happening at the same time here in the stadium section.
Yeah, Jukka Tolvanen just lost it all by himself. He gets up on one of these exit curbs, Joe, and it really upsets the car. I think it high centers the thing, and he just spins it around.
All right, so off the corner. Yeah, you're right. And the drivers were warned about that, knowing how this car behaves. In fact, he almost looked like he high-centered it on the edge of the track there for a brief moment, which I have seen happen a number of times in some of these more low-slung cars.
And here's what's going to happen with Daniel Banker. I think he just runs wide here. Yeah, just really aggressive going in. Too much apex speed and can't carry the nose through that corner.
Probably didn't help that he had the aero wash, was inches away from that car ahead. So Banker, where does that put him? Actually, I don't think he lost a position at all. He's still in 15th ahead of Spicket. So does bring Jack closer as we come back to Timothy Reed, now in 5th place. Has been there ever since Michael Leturk overtook him a few laps ago. But Michael has not been able to run away, and I'm sure Timothy would like to repay the favor.
Ah, yes, I'm sure that number 8 car never forgot about what happened down there at the hairpin. And rule number 1, if you're going to move somebody out of the way, you better be able to run away from them.
Yes, indeed. Now, to his credit, I did hear Timothy accept the apology from Michael. Didn't seem too fussed about it after the move was made. So I don't think there's any ill feelings, but no doubt he would love to try and charge his way back past that number 6 machine as they come out of the Einfahrt Parabolica onto the Parabolica proper, but Timothy not quite close enough.
The way I kind of see it is that Michael Leturk just kind of jumped in line for the prime rib entree, and, you know, Timothy Reed might be jumping in line for the ice cream at the end here.
Would it be for the Wiener Schnitzel or something?
I guess here in Germany, yes, you're right.
As Reed is still close enough. Yeah, all he needs is a mistake from Michael to try and snatch that back up. We jump a little bit farther back to Jason Clapper, Mr. Excitement today. Now it's Andreas Schuster that he is chasing down. We were watching Schuster battle with Britton a little bit earlier, but he's lost touch. Oh man, this is a fantastic run, but Clapper decides not to take it.
You know, I really am curious how far Jason Clapper would be up in some of these races if he qualified, because he's clearly got a tremendous racing ability. He works on his car setup. It's fast, and honestly, it's kind of worth having a picture-in-picture, kind of one of those old TV things. Just put a camera on him the whole race.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Timothy Reed is not going to get by the drivers he was fighting with, because unfortunately he spun off in the same place that Tolvanen did. Wonder if it's going to be a similar issue once we get to the replay of that, that he just high-centered it coming across the curb. Clapper loses a couple tenths to Schuster over that last section. Oh, he goes very wide off of turn 1, though. Flirting with disaster, that one.
Yeah, pretty wide. And just a report on that Timothy Reed incident, Joe. Looks like it was the same incident, and honestly, Timothy Vaughn narrowly misses him because Reed is just parked in the middle of the racetrack after he spins it around.
And his attempts to catch back up to Turk just takes it off onto that curb. Wow, he just barely glanced it.
Watch this. Oh,
good.
Because that was our 4th place runner, or 5th place runner right there.
Yeah, now 5th place as he made that pass there. Timothy Vaughn accepting a spot. We're going to watch from his perspective. Gave a lot wider berth. Wow, there was just a car's width there, and he placed it perfectly.
Kind of reminded me of a cold trickle through the smoke there, didn't it?
Absolutely. So, top 5 potentially for Vaughn, which I'm sure he will not shrug his shoulders at, as Kimmo Viekainen back in 9th position is just behind his fellow Finn, Jukka Tolvanen. However, remember, Jukka qualified a lot higher than this. I'll be impressed if Kimmo can keep up with him. I don't expect him to really be hassling him too much more unless there's damage on the underside of Jukka.
Agreed. And, you know, I've been watching Kimmo a little bit here, and usually he's more inside the top 5, but just doesn't have the pace at the Hockenheim ring today.
Down through the entry and into the Parabolica once again, well past the halfway point of this race now. I know the signs say DRS, but no DRS on these old machines. You have to do it the old-fashioned way of trying to catch and pass the car in front of you. Speaking of which, let's head over to Barry West with Miguel Moreland. Just a few 3/10 in front of him. Also coming along this long stretch into the braking. He's got a good run here. Is he going to try and make the move? Big defense here from Moreland. Whoa! Forcing a late move back across as Barry West catches it, thankfully, into the braking zone. He's given space at the apex, but no dice.
You see the different lines there, and Miguel Moreland taking that late apex really benefits coming off of the corner, and how much Barry West gets choked when you try to turn in early. That hairpin is just so tight in radius.
Yeah, just incredible stuff, but it makes for such fascinating racing on how the drivers approach it, especially in these high downforce cars where it's all down to mechanical grip. And if I'm frank, the Lotus 79 is not known for its mechanical grip.
Well, honestly, most of these cars that have downforce aren't. You know, they're really built for those medium and high-speed corners. So when you put them on the slow-speed sections of the racetrack, you really have to be careful with how you drive them because they have huge amounts of horsepower, and you can spin them up and lose it just like that.
Speaking of spinning them up, I think we're looking at the replay of Freckleton here. Yes, we are indeed. Into turn one. This is why I said going wide here is flirting with disaster. Oh, except he did it on the entry. It wasn't the exit curb. Interesting.
Yeah, and trying to use that entry curb to, I think, help turn the car. And you're right, I think it upset it from the beginning, and there's no saving it when you lose it from the beginning of the corner. Yeah, sure enough, on entry.
When you're counter steering before you hit the apex, that's bad news usually. He does pick it back up. He falls to 9th, unfortunately, but he didn't crash the car, thankfully. Back to Timothy Reed as he's still in 16th, having to get his car back on track and now fight his way forward. That's actually Spickett just in front of him. And another car that's had a spin today, Daniel Banker. We've had a lot of spins and incidents. Despite the one DNF that we've had, Joey, there seem to be a number of drivers caught out by this track today.
Well, and here's another one off on the right side here. I believe that's Andreas Schuster that just got caught out on the racetrack. And thankfully, they've only been single car incidents. They haven't really collected other competitors other than the first lap one.
Unfortunately for Schuster, though, he is going to catch the wall, and it's with the gearbox of the car. And they aren't as fragile as you can see sometimes in modern day, but generally it's going to hurt the car here and maybe cost him a little bit of speed as he is able to get it back on track in about 18th position. So yet another one that is unable to handle this modernized old school track, and seems like Andreas Schuster has some work to do with very few laps to do it. Kimmo Viekainen picking up those positions as drivers spin off in front of him. He's now up to 8th.
Yeah, pretty good consistent run from attrition here for Kimmo. I'm sure he'd want to be a little bit further up and hopefully hanging on the back of Yuka. And something else to report, Joe, we were watching Barry West and Miguel Moreland. Barry West did get that pass done just a couple laps ago.
Yes, he did. I think it was down into the Spitzker hairpin, and that gets him into 16th spot. Spickett and Clapper continue to climb, and that means the points might get a little bit farther apart. Clapper's up to 10th, top 10 position. My goodness, that's 42 points for him. Spickett's in 15th, and that's 31. 11-point difference. Again, I'm going to have to do the dangerous thing and get some math done here, try and figure out what's going to happen between them.
I think there needs to be a little bit more. Jason Clapper needs to get a few more positions in order to secure that. And I'm looking, he's got about a second up the road, actually closing it in pretty quick. I think Tim Britton just had a problem. Another position for Clapper.
What makes it simple is that Spickett is out of drop weeks. He joined late in the season. His first race was Brands Hatch. Clapper does have some drops, so that will help him. As we're going to watch Tim Britton, who has now fallen to 14th. Did he do the same thing? No, this one was the exit. Spits him back out, and I think he stayed out of the wall.
He does stay out of the wall, and Joe, you called it right there. It was the exit. Here we're going to ride on board with Dylan Freckleton. I think this happens right in front of him. Oh no, Dylan with another problem in turn 1 as well. Getting the apex curb this time. A little bit of Ken Block. Getting it pointed back the right way though.
We got to go back to Spickett because now that Britton is with him, they're having a fierce battle. Jack nearly managed to get by him, but Tim is up into 14th. Again, bad news for Jack because he does want more. Yes, he is still champion, but I believe it's a distance of 17 points. Let me double check here on this.
Yeah.
14 points. 14 points is the difference.
Yeah, and he just needs to stay consistent out there because I'm looking at timing and scoring here. And Jason Clapper can't really pick up any more positions. He's 5 seconds back from Kimmo Villakainen, but other people, if they keep crashing, that might change.
Absolutely. Well, if we assume that 9th is the highest that he is going to get, as Daniel Banker's another one directly, he's behind him, and this was another turn 1 incident. It shifted. We had a lot of problems down in the stadium section, and now suddenly everybody is falling all over themselves through the north curve.
There's going to be another one on entry. This is the most dramatic one on entry, Joe. I think he gets too much grass here. Yeah, too far to the grass and just instantly spins him around.
Well, and a lot like what we have with the Lotus 49, it's bigger rear tires that stick out a little bit. So I wonder if drivers are just forgetting that they have to give that just, a couple more inches of margin to make sure that they don't do that. As we check out Andrew Ang, looks like he maybe just slowed up and allowed Lopez through.
And yeah, going back to talk about those tires, it is pretty dramatic. You see how big those tires are on the back of these cars in comparison to the front. And you got to remember, the drivers can't see those back tires. They only see the front. So that's their reference point.
And that was actually Topi Kortaniemi, I think, lapping Andrew Ang there that we saw on screen. Topi still running about 5.5 seconds ahead of Partanen. I know we haven't covered them a whole lot, but it's because there hasn't been a whole lot happening at the front of the field. There's also a big distance down to Juan Mi Costa, who's just kind of casually gathering up another podium. He's got a lot of them this season, but it's still not going to get him the championship because he's locked into that second place. Back to Daniel Banker, the man with a million adventures this race, and he's trying to catch up to the other Clapper, Kurt Clapper.
And Kurt Clapper's trying to get around Miguel Moreland, who's had an adventurous race as well. And seems like all of these guys back here, they're just scrapping it out for the last few laps of this season.
I'm sure they're having fun out there. And again, like you said, last one of the season, no reason to hold back from here. Kurt Clapper, in fact, has got a very good run on Miguel Moreland. Moreland breaks deep down on the inside. Could he cut back with an over-under? Doesn't look like it. He'll have to sit in 18th.
Yeah, staying stagnant. But look at this. Kurt Clapper with another big run heading into this Mercedes Stadium section. And can't really go anywhere with it this time. And here comes Banker with a late braking move. Almost gets into the back of Kurt.
Daniel had made some good moves early and then kind of gave them away late in the race after he went off and then had another of his own little spins as he hovers behind Kurt Clapper. Kurt's going to go from attack to defense here. At least you got to think that he's going to have to here soon. They'll get the 2 to go marker as they cross the line.
Really good racing, though. I mean, this goes all the way up to what? Andreas Schuster, I think, is in the front of this pack here. And then it's Miguel Moreland, Kurt Clapper, Daniel Banker. And what is this? 4 cars here, all settling it out with 2 laps to go.
I don't know if we can get a replay in real quick.
Oh, Kurt Clapper just wrecked it.
Oh, off in turn 1, unfortunately, and hits the wall hard. That was also the scene where Timothy Reed made an incredible pass on, I think it was Tomas Bartfai, potentially. They actually made contact as Tomas nearly lost it, but Reed will get the position and live to fight another day. White flag getting ready to be waved for Topi Kortaniemi in the meantime.
Topi does get that white flag from Barney the Flagman. Go through turn 1. Don't overstep the limit like we've seen so many cars do already. And nice and smooth from our leader.
He's got a healthy buffer, but doesn't have the fastest lap right now. That's gone to Partanen. Last chance to try and snatch that one, as it looks like it's about a 10th quicker for Pauli compared to Topi Kortaniemi. And now Michael de Turk takes the fastest lap of the race, just outside of the podium. I'm sure Michael would have wanted a little bit more, but considering what he survived on lap 1, that alone is a victory in itself. But the last victory of the season, I think, is going to go here to Topi. I'll have to double check to see how many he's managed to get when he did show up this season, because when he arrives, he tends to take that top spot. It looks like only one so far I'm seeing. Yeah, Silverstone is where we saw him take the victory, but he's going to make it numero dos here for the season, Joey, as he comes into the stadium section.
And he is on a flying lap right now. He is not letting up one bit. I think he might have known that Michael de Turk snagged that fast lap, and when the tanks are dry, run it light, run it fast, and claim that checkered flag.
I'm sure he'd love to get that fast lap right here at the end to be able to put one over on those guys. But regardless, he is going to take the win, as Kortiniemi is the victor here at Hockenheim. Partanen is going to finish behind him. Topi did not get fastest lap with that one, and Costa rounds out your podium. Michael de Turk, with a car that made pretty hard side-to-side contact, gets 4th place. Look at this battle down the line between Finnegan and Tolinen, only up to 7th after his early mistake there, Yuka.
Yeah, Yuka's got to be kind of shaking his head right now and looking back. This is Miguel Moreland, still with Daniel Banker right behind him. Few more corners left.
And Clapper finishes 9th, which means as Spickett comes around for 13th, that puts Jack David Spickett as your champion for Season 1 in 2023 on the Sunday Grand Prix Series. He knows it. He wiggles his way across the line in celebration. Well earned, sir, especially considering he missed so many of the early rounds. But Moreland did beat Banker in the end.
What a race here from Hockenheim. Sorry, Joe. I know we're getting to our finishing results here.
It's all good. Yeah, it's just closing up, but we're not done yet. We're going to come back with those official results as well as driver interviews. So make sure and stick around, because the post-race show is on its way.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
There's a bear in the woods.
Right, come on, you fatty. Come on, fatty.
I don't even know who lives in there or what the hell's going on there.
Could I sleep in there today? Oh, no room.
And we're on the way there. Ignore the fart.
We go, and a bit of that, and a bit of...
Singers, James, singers I've got.
My pedal broke, man.
And thanks to Showdown Bros, Mickey's on the most useless street in the world. Come on!
Always keep a shoe in your kitchen department, guys.
Don't worry, it's the COVID talking. It's probably wild boar, a few bears, a lot of women washing their cars saying hi on the side of the road.
Go on, Mick, feel it, Mick, feel it. I might be going mad.
Want to see me underwear?
Welcome back to Hockenheim. Last race of the season here in the Sunday Grand Prix Series. Topi Kortaniemi ran away with it from the pole position as Pauli Partanen finished about 5.5 seconds behind P2, and Ronnie Costa in third. Climbed up from sixth, something that we didn't cover much during that race. He didn't qualify well, but boy, did he race good today. Michael de Turk is very apologetic about the opening lap incident as he's come to tell us a little bit about his perspective, but I don't think he needs to worry. I don't think anybody's too mad about that one. He got fourth place despite, according to him, having a little bit of wing damage on the car. Timothy Vaughn was fifth and Nathan Finnegan P6 as Jukka Tolinen was seventh today. Kimmo Viikainen P8, and critically, Jason Clapper, an excellent finish in ninth, but not the championship despite climbing up 14 positions. Dylan Freckleton behind him rounds out your top 10.
Timothy Reed, who was running up front earlier with those problems, comes home 11th after making up a few more positions after that incident. Tim Britton there 12th. Jack David Spickett up to 13th, up 9 positions from starting way in the back there. Andreas Schuster 14th. Miguel Moreland 15th. Daniel Banker 16th with all of those off track. Still brings it home there in 16th. Barry West 17th. Keith Herner, Bjorn Ackerman, and Francisco Javier Lopez rounding out the top 20.
From there, 21st was Andrew Ang, a lap down. David Martinez, 22nd, and Kurt Clapper, 23rd. Only 2 DNFs today. Tomas Bardfai and Gernot Freesia out of the race. Gernot at the very start of the race and Tomas at the very end, interestingly enough. Looks like we do have our winner ready to talk to us, Topi Kortaniemi. And Topi, second win of the season, and it looked relatively straightforward. Did it feel that way from inside the car?
Yeah, once I was out of the draft range from Pauli, I knew it was done unless something bad happened, and I made sure nothing bad happened.
Well, obviously not able to show up for the full season this time around. Do you think you'll commit yourself to showing up a little bit more next time out in season 2, or you're going to just continue to try and pick off wins when you're able to show up?
I think I might be able to do 8 races next season, so yeah, maybe.
Well, I look forward to seeing that, especially with the way that some of these guys up at the front are getting extremely fast. We were talking to Gernot, unfortunately, during the race after his incident and asking about next season. Have you had a chance to look at the schedule? Is there any track in particular you're looking forward to?
I have no idea about the schedule.
All right. Well, fair enough. Topi, again, congratulations. It was an impressive run out there today, and can't wait to talk to you again next time out.
Thanks, Joe.
Topi Kortaniemi with the win. As up next, Joey's caught up with Pauli Partanen, who apparently lost the draft early.
Yeah, Pauli, first of all, congratulations on the second place here finish today at Hockenheim.
Thank you.
Now, I know it was a little bit of a lonely race for you out there, just kind of chasing down Topi the whole time. What did you need in terms of speed to get up there and claim that checkered flag today?
I had nothing I could really do. Topi had so amazing pace. Like I'm amazed how fast he was today. So I was just hoping that something happens to him and I could take victory by that, but just by pure driving, I had nothing against him, at least this time.
Now, I know you're a regular fast guy in this series here, and we saw several drivers have some incidents with high centering the car this race. Did you have any scary moments yourself out there?
Yeah, I had once, but nothing really, really scary. At least that I did some races previous to this race, and I had way more scary stuff there. So this was quite clean, but some tiny moments there and here, but nothing really too bad.
Sounds like a pretty straightforward race for you out there, Pauli. And looking ahead to next season, I know there's some talk about the schedule and whatnot. Are we going to see you back here in the Lotus 79s next season?
Well, I don't really know. Maybe not. I will sure do some races, at least. If I have motivation, I will do more races. But we will see. Like this season, I did only this race, so I've been having a bit of vacation from Lotus 79. But it was fun to be back. Felt really nice, and this car drives as always amazingly. So it's fun to drive, and hopefully next season will be interesting as it was this season too.
Well, I know that I really enjoy watching you fight up front there and fight on the racetrack. So I do hope you come back and do some more racing that you enjoy here in these cars. And before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to thank or say hi to?
Well, thanks to Jukka, as always, my teammate. We have fun this week. Like we haven't talked with Jukka. I haven't talked with Jukka for many weeks, and we got back to iRacing, back to Lotus, and we had some fun. Thank you, man. And also Michael, we had some fun, and Kimmo too. We had great week, and I was just hoping we have fun. That was my goal, and I achieved that. So it was nice. So thanks, guys, and see you next season. Thank you.
It's always about having fun, and thankfully, Polly Partonen coming home today here in second place.
Which takes us to our fourth place finisher, Michael de Turk, had a little bit more action than what we saw with the top two finishers. Michael, let's start at the beginning with that run down into turn one. Talk to us about the three wide situation in your perspective. Oh, maybe Michael's not mic'd up quite yet. We'll see if we can get that lav mic all hooked up.
Got it. Sorry, Joe.
Now we got you, Michael.
Yeah, I was still bound to the push to talk on my wheel, so I forgot to swap it over. Yeah, turn one was rough. I'm kind of a notoriously fast starter in Lotus 79. I always get the car off the grid pretty well, and I had a good run. So, I thought that I was even with Gernot and I could take him too wide there. And I know him and Yuka were both in front of me at the start. So in my head, I was thinking Yuka was going to slot in behind me and then he could box Gernot out into turn two. But when I checked up a little bit to make sure Gernot and I both made the corner, Gernot, I don't think knew that we were three wide, and Yuka saw me slow up a little bit and took the inside. And so, I just kind of ended up in a sandwich of Europeans, which unfortunately did not work out that well, with some wing damage and a slowdown penalty to boot.
The Earl of Sandwich today here, Michael de Turk. And, okay, so talk to us then about after that, because you say you had some wing damage. You think we didn't see any. We thought that you got away clean, but were you actually feeling it in the car?
Yeah, I was slow in a straight line. I had a bends on actually both sides, front left and front right. They were very minor, but it was enough where I was losing 1/10.5 down the straightaways at least. So, when I finally got to Tim Reed and had a chance to take an opportunity, I had to take it because I had the worry that I was never going to get another opportunity with that wing damage. So, I sent it in and unfortunately locked the rear axle a little bit and we made contact, but thankfully he didn't take any damage. He and I chatted about it after, and, I was obviously apologetic because I don't like hitting people.
Understandable, and honestly, I was a little surprised that he was as jovial about that as he was in the race when we heard him respond on the radio. Because I kind of expected the way you slid in there that things would be a little bit more heated. But do you think that's a testament to the community here, that the guys are all pretty good natured towards one another?
I think for the most part, people realize that we're here to have fun, and we do have a pretty tight knit community. And as long as you're willing to talk it out, apologize, realize what your mistakes are, look at the context, I don't think we really have any issues. I mean, I haven't been on iRacing that long, only, 3 years now, but every time there's a discussion about what happened, generally speaking, it comes away. You might not always agree on the result, but it comes away with people respecting each other. And I think, as you said, that is a testament to the group we have here. Tim and I race each other a lot here and in other series, and we always have fun with it, so.
Well, good stuff. You gave us a lot to watch and be on the edge of our seats about, Michael. Will we see a little more coming season 2?
Yeah, I hope so. I had a bunch of life stuff that really took precedent during this season, so just had to tone down the iRacing. You know, only got in week 1 and week 12 here and in Camel. But I'm hoping to race some more next season, and I'm certainly looking forward to the Spanish addition to our schedule.
All right, great stuff. That was Michael Turk talking about Jerez there that is coming on to the service. It was 4th place for that number 6 car today. A big thanks to the Grand Prix Legends community for coming back and bringing us on for another season of coverage. We'll be back for next season as well, I can confirm. And thanks to the team today, Joey, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. We'll get the official schedule here soon. Until then, it's TBD as next Sunday, March 19th, 2 weeks from now, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we will be back. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.